these creatures, entities, uh, have the ability to the tech to do all these incredible things. I find it hard to believe that they would crash, Lou, because we've all seen the Senate testimonies where it's like, oh, we've got crash remains and like kind of a colossal error. A, how did you crash? And B, if you have an exceptionally violent species, why would you leave behind the key? That's
Right.
another barrier to entry for me on this one, where I'm like, that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and again, great point. Some people ascribe to this theory, what they call the gift theory. I don't personally subscribe to that. I can't prove it's not correct, but some people will speculate, well, maybe they were left here on purpose. I don't necessarily feel that way. But it turns out that if you were to ask the scientists that were working with us at ATIP and OSAP before that, they'll tell you that some of the crashes may have been honestly just dumb luck and by accident. So what do I mean by that? The bubble that is, as it was explained to me, that is created around these craft in order to allow them to experience space time a little bit differently, is very susceptible to electromagnetic pulses.
Oh,
And
wow.
It's like a balloon, and an EMP is like a needle to a balloon, and you can pop that bubble very quickly and quite easily. And so the speculation is that the original Roswell crash wasn't even a crash that was necessarily deliberate. We were testing atomic capabilities, which I can't probably go into a lot of detail here, even though it was, back in the 40s, and that there were some UAP that were very interested in what we were doing, and we knocked them out of the sky by mistake. Didn't even realize that that was kind of the Achilles heel to these bubbles, and so that was the principal theory that was going around the Pentagon at the time.
If we had the ability to knock these things out of the sky, why wouldn't they just wipe us out?
Well, because that's a human trait, isn't it? Violence and aggression tends to be fundamentally a human thing. When you look at intent, when a shark bites a surfer, the shark isn't trying to hurt the surfer. The shark doesn't even know it's a surfer. He's just hungry and he just wants to eat. And so I'm hungry and I want to fill my stomach, right?
Yeah.
Humans and a few of the great apes are one of the few creatures on this planet that actually have intent and motivation uh, beyond just survival. We do bad things to each other sometimes simply because we want to, and that in itself, makes us sometimes a very complicated species. Now, we're assuming that these things, wherever they're from and whatever they are, have the same motivations as we do. But the reality is, if we evolve long enough, maybe those attributes that we have aren't really part of our DNA anymore. Perhaps it's like talking to
Can you
artificial
imagine?
intelligence. AI doesn't have intent. AI just, information in, information out. It is intelligent, but it's not a human intelligence, right? It lacks certain things that we have evolved to have psychologically and whatnot. And so we have to be careful to assign anthropomorphic values indiscriminately onto something that may very well not be human-like at all. And so, we have to caution ourselves and avoid that temptation of ascribing the same type of human motivations that we have, that we relate to. Look, and it's hard to do because look, I live here in the middle of Wyoming and I have 5 German Shepherds, and guess what? They all have human names. And guess what? I treat them all like humans, right? No, how's my little baby doing? And are you hungry today? And come sleep in the bed with dad, and all that stuff. But the reality is they're not human. They are dogs. They are a completely fundamentally different species. Now, I am assuming that they have a lot of human traits because I'm human. And that is the only way I know how to deal with something as a human, right? But we have to avoid that temptation when we're not talking about German Shepherds in this case. We're talking about something that truly may fundamentally not be human at all, may not even have the same evolution if you will, trajectory that we had. It could be something that has been engineered, right? Another option is that the things could be have a hive mind, very much like ants in a colony or bees in a colony, right? There's very specific functions that are performed by certain ants. Some are guard ants, some are queens, and some are drones. And they perform a very specific task. So these are a lot of the things that were being considered at the time by a lot of the doctors and psychologists and whatnot that we worked with.
All right, guys, if you like this clip and you want to watch the full episode, click here. And if you want more content like this, you can subscribe to the show by clicking here.